Hello everyone, today's video is going to be extremely critical if you really want to improve your chess and if you really want to score some heavy good points in your tournament games or against your friends. Today we are going to discuss a mistake that have been made by 2.4 million plus chess players in the world. You can already sense by the numbers, by the figures, that how common is this particular chess trap. And many people don't really know where they are going wrong, so it's going to be a good advantage for us to take that chance and get a winning position. So I don't want to waste any further time, so let's quickly jump into the video. We are playing with the black pieces and our opponent starts with the standard move e4. We play e5, knight f3, knight c6, and here many players who are at the beginner or even the intermediate level always continues the game with knight c3. The idea is very standard. The basic principle says that we should always develop our knight first before the bishop, keeping the bishop as flexible to put the bishop on c4 or to b5. After knight c3, we do the same by developing our knight to f6. This opening is also known as the 4 knights game. After knight f6, white plays the move bishop to c4, which is the most common move in the position and played by more than 2.4 million people. From here, our trap begins, or the common mistake begins. After bishop c4, which is the most common move in the position, it looks like the bishop is at a good square. After bishop c4, we are already going to strike in the center by playing the move knight into e4, sacrificing the piece. After knight into e4, I have taken two possibilities in this position. First, knight into e4 and second, bishop into f7. First, let's try to discuss knight into e4. After knight into e4, we are going to play the move d5, hitting the bishop and the knight. Okay, so here white is having three options to either to capture the pawn on d5, to play the move bishop to b5, or to play the move bishop to d3. If white starts with bishop into d5, simply capturing the piece, capturing the pawn, queen into d5, the material is equal. So here white can continue with d3 trying to defend the knight on e4. Here we can already generate some serious counterplay with bishop to g4. Developing a piece and also pinning up the knight. And a good thing here is black is already having the bishop pair, which is a good and heavy advantage for black. After bishop g4, white simply shot castle, playing the simple principled chess. We are going to do a long castle, and the position is already way interesting for black. f5 is coming up, knight to d4 is coming up, pinning up the knight, and the game is already in the favor of black. Black is having some serious chances of winning the game. So this is what happens if white goes for playing the move bishop into d5. So now let's try to discuss what happens if white goes for playing the move bishop to b5. Simply pinning up the knight, and the idea here is we are going to capture the knight, and here white is simply going to capture our e5 pawn, and we cannot capture the knight because our knight is pinned. So here many people go for playing the move queen d5, hitting the knight and the bishop, which is a fine move, but we are having even a better move, which is simply playing the move queen to g5, making a triple attack even on the pawn on g2. What is the idea here is, if white captures the knight with the knight, we are going to capture the bishop, and the knight is hanging, and you can already sense black is again having the bishop pair and a comfortable position. So if white captures the knight with the bishop, which is the only move now, after pawn takes knight into pawn, we can already grab the g2 pawn. Rook is attacked, so the only move is to play the move rook to f1, and now there are many ways to win the game. Bishop a6 is the one move to hit the rook, bishop a3, bishop h3 is another, but the best is bishop to g4, simply hitting the queen, and after f3, which is the only move, bishop into f3 simply wins the game. So yeah, this is what happens if white plays the move bishop to b5. So now let's try to discuss what happens. Okay, we are going to discuss bishop to d3, which is the best move. But before that, I want to discuss what happens if white plays the move bishop into f7. King into f7 and knight into e4. And this is I think practically speaking, if a particular player has not seen this position, he's most likely to go into this particular variation, because it makes a lot of sense to break black's castling rights, and material wise the position is even. So here what's happening here is we are going to play the move d5, hitting the knight. White is definitely going to play the move knight to g5 check, and here we are going to simply put our king to g8, a very safe king. And now what's our idea here is, our idea is to simply push the pawn to e4, hitting the knight, and also threatening to capture the knight on g5. So it's already very hard for white to continue the game. White plays the move d3 in order to stop the move e4, which is extremely strong move. Here we are going to simply play the move h6, hitting this knight, the knight goes back, and we simply put our bishop to g4, pinning up this knight. And here, if you try to do a short castle, I can even capture the knight on h3, simply ruining the white's pawn structure. Or I'm having even something better, which is knight to d4, pinning up the knight. So already short castle is not the best, but the most playable move in this position, according to the database, is to play the move knight h to g1, which makes a lot of sense. You are simply protecting the knight, and yeah, you are also preventing the bishop from capturing the knight. So after knight g1, you can already sense how the white knight simply ruined his journey from b1 to g1. We are already going to push up onto e4. We have a pawn trade, even a queen trade, and in this position, you can, if you try to move the knight, it's a mate in one. So the only move for white is to play the move knight to d2 in order to stop the move rook to d1 checkmate. Here we are going to play the move knight to d4, threatening knight into c2, and it's, believe it or not, it's already completely winning for black. There is no need for any extra explanation. It's completely winning. So this is what happens if white goes for bishop into f7 check, like these ideas. It makes a lot of sense. It's completely winning for black. You can play it without any worries. So finally, we are going to come up to the best variation after d5. White plays the move bishop to d3. After bishop d3, we are going to capture the knight. And now we are going to continue the game by bishop to d6, simply protecting the pawn. Because white's idea is to capture the knight, followed by capturing the pawn on e5. So we simply defend it by playing bishop to d6, preventing the pawn and also developing our piece. And now what's the idea? Our idea is already to play the move f5 and try to get a serious amount of good center control. And after bishop d6, it's already a good position for black. There is nothing to worry about. Like for example, after short castle, we can even short castle. After, for example, if d3, there is moves like knight e7, which is very interesting, not giving white an extra option of bishop into c6. And now, for example, if white plays something like h3, getting rid of backrank issues, we are already having a powerful move f5, and believe it or not, the bishop is trapped on the center of the board. So you can sense how these traps is simply amazing. And this is such a common mistake to make by even a grandmaster, because putting the bishop c4 is the way common idea to play. You can even implement these traps even if you are playing with the white pieces. For example, if we are playing with the white pieces, and now we already know this particular trap. So after knight f6, we are going to develop our bishop to e2 at the place of c4. And here, after bishop c5, we are going to capture the pawn on e5. And believe it or not, it's the same thing. We are having the same variation, but with the reverse color, and you are having the advantage to win the game. So yeah, this was the trap or the common mistake made by more than 2.4 million chess players. So I hope this video was interesting to you to increase your chess knowledge. If it did, then make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you are new to our channel. I'm going to come up with these interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching OneShot Chess.